for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Bob Savage here with us.
Yes, you lucky stiffs, you got me too. I don't have no idea why this microphone sounds like this, but it does, so we'll just try to make it work.
You running from the control center again,
yeah,
Bob?
Yeah, I'm in the Bob D'Angelo chair here. This week, Bob's on vacation. He's away in another state which is not quarantined. There's only 2 of them. No, I'm just kidding. But I think we're down to, 19 states that are not quarantined? Don't have a travel restriction?
That sounds about right to me. And, it's kind of interesting because it's more of the half U.S. population, in terms of states and population. If somebody wanted to come to New York, they have to quarantine for 14 days. And then more than half the states you would travel to, you would then have to quarantine and when you come home, and then some of them you'd have to quarantine while you're there too. So you think about it, if you travel, depending on the state you go to, you have to quarantine there for 14 days and then come home and you've got to quarantine again for another 14 days, putting you at 28 days of quarantine.
Yeah, basically a month.
Yeah, you're out of work for a month.
Got to sit on the beach for a month. On our flagship station here in Rochester, the overnight show had a call in from a guy who has been quarantined in Europe for like 5 months, ever since this whole thing started. He's there with his family. He's in Germany, and he can't get home. The guy can't work. He can't get his job done. His wife is caring for the kids. They're sitting in some hotel. It's like $600 a night.
Holy crap!
I mean, just imagine this for a minute. And then and the Germans don't want him there. They keep on trying to arrange travel for him to go places. So he's like, well, that's great that you can get me to Gatwick in London, but then what happens? And the Germans say, well, you're on your own then. Yeah. Basically, they just want to get rid of him, and he's burning through his 401k, and he can't get back to the States because of all these quarantines.
So this is an American trying to get back home.
Yeah, he just called into the talk show. He said, you know what? Give me COVID. I'll deal with it. I'll get COVID. My family will get COVID. I'll be fine. Everything will work out okay. I just have to get back home.
Yeah.
Because the man has no life.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at that. My wife and I were, about a week ago, we were sitting here thinking about, okay, things are starting to open. Maybe we could plan a trip. We had 2 conferences that we were supposed to go to, and a separate trip, including a trip with some friends that was supposed to be kind of like a road trip with some camping and stuff. All of it got canceled because of COVID one way or another, between the conferences shutting down, the airlines canceling some of the flights, and then some of the states enacting additional quarantine requirements. All that stuff got canceled. So about a week ago, we're like, well, things are starting to open up. Like, let's look and see where we could travel to. And I got to be honest, it's actually worse than it was a few months ago.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, what happened to our freedom to travel, our freedom of association? And here's the thing, the news accounts out there are, pounding this, more cases. Oh, there's more cases than ever. What is a case? Is that just somebody who has had an antibody test? I guarantee you that those cases, finger quotes, are not people who are sick. They're just people who, either might be slightly symptomatic or are testing positive, or maybe test positive for antibodies.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. I mean, there have been so many reports of inaccurate tests, including here in Rochester, somebody shared with me yesterday a story of a friend who has had trouble getting out of one of the hospitals because the hospital won't release you if you have a positive test. You need two positive tests in a row, and they'll have a negative test and then a positive test. And then they'll have a positive test and a negative test. And so the question is, how is it that these tests are so inconsistent that you can take two tests and get two totally different results, and now you're basically being held somewhere. You're not supposed to leave, um, without having, we're relying on these inaccurate devices. And I think it's a problem because what that means to me, and we've talked about this so many times, but it's worth emphasizing that we can't trust what the numbers are. The numbers could be significantly lower, or technically they could be significantly higher. Um, I I don't think we can look at any of the numbers and assume that they're accurate. I think the only numbers that we could look at and say that we're actually sure about this test would be the antibody test. But that's not how 90+% of the people are getting tested. They're getting tested with these nasal swabs, which also seem to vary significantly. I have a few people who are tested with a rapid test, and the nasal swab doesn't go up and all the way back. They just kind of swab the rim of their nose versus these other tests that go all the way back and tickle your brain. So there seems to be a lot of inconsistency here, which has me um, very concerned that nobody actually knows the right numbers. Like, even the people who are using the numbers to their advantage have no idea what the actual numbers are.
Yeah, and then not only, I mean, a couple things about the numbers. Okay, first of all, if what if we believe them, we take everybody at their word. All these national reports of the caseload is going up and up and up. What that means is that the fatality rate is going down and down and down. So the virus becomes less and less fatal as the number of reported cases, quote, skyrockets, unquote. Not my term, by the way. That's what you're just hearing from the mainstream media. The other thing is that we have all these reports of people who have sent in unused swabs and which have come back positive, in multiple cases, or people who were waiting in line. They ran out of time and had to leave, but they had registered to take the test, and then they get a mail notification that their test came back positive. There's too much of this that's going on. It makes the entire testing regime highly suspect, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I've heard similar reports as well. I haven't been able to actually validate any of them, but it's something that we're hearing about. We're hearing a lot about it, and we're hearing it from different places. I had somebody the other day that said their family member works for one of the hospitals in Buffalo, and that's the experience they had. I really hope that if this is truly happening, that the hospitals and the healthcare providers start speaking out about it, because that's their duty as healthcare providers. If this is really happening, people should know about it, and they need to stand up and say, hey, this is happening, this is wrong, this is inconsistent. My worry is they're not doing it because they're probably making so much money off of the tests, and I'm sure there's going to be government incentives and government funding, which is why maybe it's not in their best interest to bring this to light. And that's just another concern.
Yeah, and then there's it's kind of like the hydroxychloroquine debate, where it's been politicized now. Now the entire COVID issue has become so politicized, and it's kind of like this religious fervor. You believe in it, and you got to have that mask on, and you got to social distance, and all the shaming that goes on, and everything else. And the circumstances just do not warrant that. This is not the bubonic plague, and there has to be a balancing act, a risk benefit analysis in everything that we do in life. We have to look and say, look, is it really worth trashing our country's economy, and our kids' education, and our future, just to, quote, keep us safe? Government, I don't need you to keep me safe. Andrew, I will keep myself safe. Thank you very much. You concern yourself with protecting the borders and maintaining an effective military. I'll take care of my own personal safety. Thanks very much.
Yeah, if only more people felt that way, Bob. I wish. I think that people have gotten stuck into this decades and decades and generations of feeling that the purpose of government is to protect them, which is not the purpose of government. It's not meant to make you feel safe and warm and fuzzy. It has very limited roles, which have expanded. Guys, we're going to take a break here. When we come back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Waldameer.
Waterworld opens daily at 11 with a giant wave pool, water playgrounds, relaxing river, and exciting body and tube slides like the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer. The Rally Racer is the longest, fastest slide in Waterworld. Come experience the excitement as you race your family and friends. And Waldameer opens at noon with a variety of thrill rides and family rides like the exciting new Whirlwind spinning coaster. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldameer is limited to 50% capacity, so there's no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets at waldameer.com or at the park. Children under 1 are free. Face masks are required. So visit waldameer.com, purchase your admission tickets, and come have some fun.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Waldameer. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Waldameer. Waldameer in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Today I've got a couple stories for you guys, but before we break into it, I want to kind of give you guys the opportunity to call in with things that are important to you. So our number is 585-346-3000. Once again, that's 585-346-3000. If there's a topic you want us talking about, give us a call, bring it up on the phone, or you can jump on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Just search Andrew C. Hollister. We're live right now. Feel free to post things in the comments that are important to you, and we'll bring them up during the show. So I think it was last week, but maybe it was a little bit further out than that. We talked about the couple who were standing out in front of their home with an AR-15 and a pistol in St. Louis. You remember them, Bob?
Oh yeah, yep. Been all over the news for the last few days because they were arrested. They were
Yep.
charged with, I don't know, not brandishing, but whatever the charge is in Missouri.
Yeah, yeah. So they essentially are being charged with a felony for that, which I thought we should bring up, we should talk about, because our conversation when we first brought this up was whether or not this was a win for the Second Amendment or not, because it was pretty polarizing. A lot of Second Amendment advocates were very upset about the way they were holding the firearms, the fact that they didn't have like appropriate training, which was really obvious. And however, a lot of people also said, but nobody attacked their property. People stayed away. So it was kind of it felt to many as a win for the Second Amendment, but also many felt like it hurt the cause, because when people see that, um, undoubtedly somebody's going to propose some sort of additional gun legislation
Yeah.
that's going to hurt, and they're going to use these people as an example and say, look at this lady with her trigger or her finger in the trigger
In the
pointed
trigger,
at somebody.
and she's standing behind her husband.
Yeah, yeah,
With
it's not good. Like,
No,
and there,
you don't
there's
stand there with, yeah, unless you're ready to shoot that thing, you keep your finger off the trigger, and then and now, for what it's worth, apparently both firearms were unloaded. Matter of fact, they didn't have any ammo in the house whatsoever. So basically, what they were paperweights or doorstops. But still, I don't think, at least not from the news footage that I saw. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see any brandishing going on, though. They weren't holding the weapons safely or appropriately. But on the other hand, they weren't like sighting down them at people. So
yeah, and I don't know specifically what the laws are in St. Louis. I know that they're attorneys, and they felt, based on their understanding of the law, that they were operating within the law, and they stated in their interviews that they felt very much in fear of their lives, damage to their personal property. They said that people threatened to kill their dogs.
yeah, they
So
said they said they were going to kill their dog. They're going to kill them. They're going to kill their dog and burn the house down. I think that's a threat.
yeah, that to me feels pretty threatening. If somebody said that to me, I would feel threatened.
And the fact that there's, I don't know, was there 50 of them or something like that? They were not walking placidly along. This is, people have to understand, where the protesters were walking is private property. That is not like a city or a municipality street. That's a neighborhood which is owned by the homeowners, and they maintain that thoroughfare. And there was a large gate which was apparently broken down by these protesters. So you have kind of a breaking and entering situation here, and you have a threat. So there's a lot of political posturing going on there. The prosecutor is a Soros appointee, but apparently the governor has said that he will pardon them if they're convicted. And then somebody else is talking about, I can't remember if it's the mayor or whoever it is would drop the charges if they were brought. But this prosecutor is up for a big, in a big re-election campaign, and
There it is.
really has to try to make this stick. So that's where she's coming from.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting because the prosecutor, she says here, her quote is illegal to wave weapons in a threatening manner at those participating in a non-violent protest.
Yeah, that's crap.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things to consider here. One being, and I don't believe this is disputed, them breaking the gate down. I don't think that anybody's disputing that. So if somebody broke the gate down that basically comes into where your home is, that definitely doesn't feel nonviolent to me. If somebody broke your fence down, I think you would feel that somebody is being violent, and then later you get threats from those people. I their actions themselves may not have been violence towards an individual where somebody actually was harmed, but I believe is definitely a threat of violence and damage to personal property. To me, I don't think that you can sit there and say that it was not violent. It wasn't violent in the terms of, I'm not aware of anybody going to the hospital or not being injured, that sort of thing. Um, but in terms of the actual thing that happened, I'm definitely feeling that probably would be considered violence. So that's my first take on this. But then the next piece, which is really interesting, is that the prosecutor then said that if convicted, they wouldn't fight for any type of jail time. Instead, they would send them to a diversion program and community service.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was grabbing a phone call here. We have James on the line. Welcome to Radio Free New York, James.
Hey, I'm just wondering, you were mentioning that the George Soros appointee out there, the DA in St. Louis, all right? We all know this past DA race right here in Monroe County, in Rochester, that George Soros had $800,000 tied up in the DA Democratic candidate that lost, thank God. I would like to, at some point, have someone ask the county executive, Mr. Bello up here, hey, Adam, just for giggles, what's your thought of George Soros trying to buy your DA in your county that you're a member of that party? I would just love to hear the explanation of why it's okay that George Soros is getting into Monroe County under your watch.
Well, it's James, it's part of a national campaign which is being waged by the Soros Organization, his Open Societies Institute, and he wants secretaries of state, he wants prosecutors, and if you look at them, they all have an abysmal track record. A vast number of their cases get tossed. Prosecutions that are brought are reversed, and it's just they're notoriously ideological, right, Andrew?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I to be honest, I haven't looked through Adam Bellows' campaign records, but who knows? I mean, it's possible that Bellows may have accepted money too. Not to that amount, because I think it would have made the news, but through some PAC or some other organization, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right, James, anything else?
Anybody that's a Cuomo buffoon, where are you going?
Yeah, he is definitely Cuomo's guy. Thanks, James. Appreciate the call. James' line is open at 585-346-3000 if you'd like to join the show, Andrew.
Yeah. So this thing here is it'll be interesting. I bet you ultimately, well, I don't know if this prosecutor is running for re-election, she may very well try to nail them to the wall on this. But it would be kind of interesting because
you mean the couple? Their name escapes me. She's going for it, but there's a lot of pushback going on now. So, and is it a primary? I can't remember what the election is that she's facing, but she's definitely being challenged.
Yeah, so the couple's name is Mark and Patricia McCloskey.
That's it. That's
yep.
right. Yeah, and they're Democrats, by the way.
Yeah, they not only are they Democrats, what's really interesting is they are supporters of Black Lives Matter, and they did a video talking about how
that'll teach you.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because in their interview they said, we actually support this cause, and we believe that we need to see social justice change, this and that. They're but we also don't want to feel threatened in our own home. And they even went as far to say hey, the vast majority of people protesting are peaceful, but some bad people made some really bad decisions and brought violence towards us and threatened us, and those people are the people who we were scared of, and those are the people who we're afraid of. And in their statement, they're we don't want this to reflect on the whole movement. We just want to reflect on the people, the small few that did bad things.
Yeah.
So they're Democrats who own firearms. We could talk about that. But they weren't even anti the movement, and yet they were still essentially attacked. So All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to check through your comments and your posts, and we'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
That's right, 585-346-3000, out of the area, 866-552-1009, toll free. Talk to you in a few.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see partly cloudy skies, kind of warm and buggy. There will be a passing shower or thunderstorm. Temperatures will be in the 60s to near 70 on Thursday. We'll see sun and clouds, chance of a shower, maybe even an isolated strong thunderstorm during the afternoon. The highs in the low 80s, still rather humid. Less muggy on Friday, back to some sunshine, a nice day. Temps in the 70s and 80s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
In honor of the late Bat McGrath, a well-known singer and songwriter from upstate New York, and a true friend of Camp Good Days, Lou Graham has donated a guitar signed by the past and present members of Foreigner. This guitar will be raffled off to raise money for Camp Good Days. The funds from this raffle will go directly towards renovating the music activity hut at Camp Good Days and Special Times, recreational facility on Cuca Lake. The hut will be rededicated in memory of Bat McGrath. Raffle tickets are 1 for $10, 3 for $20. The winner will be announced at the Music Hut rededication at Camp Good Days recreational facility on a date to be announced. Visit campgooddays.org or call Camp Good Days office at 585-624-5555 for more information.
Because your future is worth it. MGM Associates Insurance. Proudly serving the region since 1984, MGM can meet your coverage needs, ranging from home, condo, and auto, all the way to specialized policies for business, workers' comp, to limo and taxi insurance, and coverage for tech professionals like IT specialists. They can also help lead you through the confusing maze in the new world of health insurance coverage and options. MGM Associates is large enough to serve you, but small enough to care, so you don't have to wait in line on some 800 number to get prompt personal attention. MGM Associates is the only winner of the National Best Practices Award 5 times in a row. MGM is proud to support veterans groups, including Heroes Home Advantage. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, put the experience of MGM Associates Insurance on your team. Locally and proudly owned at 1745 Penfield Road in Penfield. 381-7008 or mgminsure.com, an associate of Finger Lakes Fire and Casualty, Route 227 in Trumansburg, New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Springwater Amish Workshop, your summer sweet spot. We have a fine selection of outdoor furniture items that'll make your outdoor living a delight to the eye, comfortable and worry-free. Our polyvinyl furniture can be purchased in a variety of colors that'll complement your living spaces. Springwater Amish Workshop offers a full line of storage sheds, gazebos, and carports, and a variety of styles and sizes. Springwater Amish Workshop storage sheds have the best warranty in the business. Pricing includes delivery within a 40-mile radius of Springwater. Come and see what's available at Springwater Amish Workshop, Route 15, 7936 Mill Street, Springwater, or check the website at springwateramishworkshop.com.
As the word tells us that all things are to be done decently and in order, we all have a desire to be more organized. Get Organized has been helping their clients effectively organize their living spaces with custom closets, pantries, garage storage systems, and more for over 30 years. Get Organized can be reached online at www.closetsrochester.com or by phone at 585-223-3646. Get Organized with closetsrochester.com today.
Flower City Collision in Henrietta is trusted by numerous corporate fleets. Properly insured and registered in New York, Flower City Collision specializes in working with insurance companies on your behalf. Get it done right. Visit flowercitycollision.com.
WYSL.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Got Bob Savage here with us in Mission Control today. And we were just wrapping up a discussion about Mark and Patricia McCloskey and the fact that they're being charged with felony charges for pointing firearms at protesters. I did have some comments come through from Drew, who says that he lives in St. Louis. Protesters did not go down that street, and the gate was damaged the evening after the news media was there. I'm not sure which street specifically he's talking about, but he also said that we should recheck to see if they're Republicans. So I did run over and did a couple of the
to see if who's Republicans.
I believe the couple.
Well, all the news media reports that we've seen thus far have been Democrat. That they are Democrats.
Yeah, so I did look. I don't see specifically what their registration is, like with Board of Elections, but I did find that they have both donated to both Democrat and Republican campaigns in the past. Also recently, especially some local Democrat candidates. I do see that one of them made a donation to Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, so that might be where people are thinking that they're Republicans. But I don't see anything that would actually. I don't have like a copy of the Board of Elections records to see specifically which party they're registered to, but it looks like they have a fairly long history, at least since the early 2000s, of donating to both campaigns, but predominantly Democrats, at least up until recently.
Well, they're personal injury attorneys, so they're entrepreneurs, they're business people. Apparently, they have a pretty extensive practice out there, and this is common practice. What happens is people who are business owners in a community will hedge their bets, and they will donate to both political parties. Mm-hmm. I mean, Donald Trump has been a major contributor to Democrats for generations, because that's how you do business in New York City. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think you can draw any conclusions from that. If he has evidence, I'd like to see a voter registration card showing that the McCloskeys are registered Republicans. I don't think you're going to find that.
Yeah, and I don't know if down there Board of Elections records are like open and available like they are here. Here in New York, you can go to Board of Elections and you can get a copy of all of the registered voters, including their their address, their voting history, their whole bunch of information. And when I say voting history, I want to put a little asterisk next to that because people might start freaking out. It only shows that you voted in that election. It doesn't say who you voted for. So it'll have a column. Not yet. Oh yeah, well not yet. Yeah,
pardon my saying so.
Yeah. So if you were to go to, say, the Monroe County Board of Elections, I think it costs, $25 or something like that. They'll give you a disc with a file on it that has all of that information, and you can see like 2016 for the primary, all the voters that voted in that primary, then 2016 for the general election, all the voters that voted for that. And each year, I think they go up 4 years back, I think. And I'm sure they have the other history, but I think they only provide the last 4 years worth of data. So here in New York, here in Monroe County, that information is available. I'm not sure if it's the same in other states or not. I have no idea.
No, I don't know, but and as far as I have seen no conflicting reports until we got that contact from the listener in St. Louis to the effect that the gate was not broken down by the protesters. That there have been no accounts to that effect. This I mean, had you heard anything, Andrew?
No, I was trying to think if I had heard anything that suggested otherwise, but I don't recall seeing anything like that.
Yeah, whoever sent that comment in, give us your source. Tell us where you saw that.
Yeah, if there's a link or a video or something like that, like I'd love to have it, because one thing that I always try to emphasize, especially people listening to the show, just because I haven't seen it on the internet doesn't mean it hasn't happened, you know? And I don't trust mainstream media. They have their own agenda. Even if their story happens to align with my beliefs, if somebody has something that opposes it, I still want to see it, because I know the media is there to sell advertisements. Historically, they don't care very much about how accurate it is. So if you have something that conflicts with their story, I still want to see it, because I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. The mainstream media has been wrong so many times that, a lot of times when somebody says, well, I saw it on the news, I do have that question of, yeah, I mean, I've seen stuff on the news too. Do they have it right this time? So I'd be happy to take a look at it for sure. So, with that being said, we can kind of move on from that. I can't remember, Bob, did you have a Cuomo thing for us to talk about?
Well, I just had a Cuomo thing about how the mainstream media, as long as we're talking about the mainstream media, has basically anointed him Mr. COVID success, which is ludicrous because he's anything but. He has among the highest approval ratings of any governor in the nation. That's within his home state. And almost all governors in the nation can arguably be said to have governed far more capably. This is from an article by David Harsanyi. And he says, as I write this, the coronavirus death toll in New York stands at 166 people per 100,000. Even if we exclude New York City, the rate's 78.5 per 100,000, while it's still 30 per in Arizona, 20 per in Florida, 17.7 in California, and 11.1 in Texas. Now, this was written on July 17th. So this is, 5-6 days old. And I think that some of those numbers in Florida and California have gone up. But in our noon newscast, immediately preceding this show on our flagship station in Rochester, we know still that even with the spike in, quote, cases, and again, as we discussed earlier in the program, we don't know what cases means, but the rate is still 9 times higher in New York than it is in California. And I believe we had 78,000 deaths in New York.
Really? So is it that high now? Wow.
Well, as of the 17th, it's at 32,000. But I thought that I'll have to check that. But anyway, and then he put out his bizarre, poster last week. And then you have this Andy Slavitt, the perpetually mistaken Obama-era bureaucrat who's constantly being trotted out by cable news as an expert on coronavirus. He says there's no other place to beat the disease better than New York. Others claim New York's victory could be seen in its lack of deaths this week. This is tantamount, says Mr. Harsanyi, to declaring New York victorious over Islamic terrorism on 9/12 because nobody died in the city that day. So... Yeah. I mean, so it just needs to be noted here that don't be alert to the fact that Andy is being sold muscularly throughout the entire country as the coronavirus wizard.
Yeah.
Which he is anything but.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. And I gotta say, I believe that his approval numbers were up maybe like 3 months ago. When he first started his daily briefings, I think people felt like a good sense of communication from him. They felt like there was some leadership there. I'm not going to dispute that. I heard it from Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, libertarians across the board. So many people said that. But I think that withered away pretty quickly as those daily live streams just carried on and on and on.
Well, then you had the nursing home deaths, too.
Yeah, and that certainly put a plug in it right there, I think. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Bob, you know something we haven't talked about in a really, really long time?
No, actually. I thought we talked about everything continuously.
Well, we kind of do. I mean, I guess technically we have, but we haven't done the bad law segment in a really long time.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And one of the things I came across this last week that I thought was worth sharing with you guys, I went to a presentation and found out as a part of that presentation that in every municipality in New York State, your dog has to be registered. And according to New York Agricultural and Markets Law, Article 7, Section 109, if your dog is not registered to the municipality in New York State, police can actually seize your dog without a warrant and then later make you pay to have the dog back, which I had no idea. I didn't so we always register our dogs. For a long time we had dogs we didn't even know that there was such a thing as a dog registry. And, one day something happened, animal control knocked on our door, asked if we had dogs, and we are like, yeah, of course we have dogs. And they're like, well, they're not registered, and we had no idea. And it was kind of like, it wasn't a confrontational thing. It was like one of the neighbors' dogs got out, and somebody on the street thought the dog belonged to us. And they basically like, well, you need to go register the dog.
So no dog Karen blew you in.
No, no, and this was like years and years ago. This was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, something. Um, so it's simple but annoying. You have to like go downtown with proof of vaccinations, pay your fee, and then you get these little like blue tags to clip onto the dog's collar to prove that they're registered. But I had no idea that this was a statewide thing, and if your dog is not registered to the state can seize your dog.
Yeah, it's an ag and markets thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, once again, this is the thing. You talk about the taxes in New York State and how expensive it is to live here, and certainly it is in terms of property taxes and personal income taxes, and if you own a business, the business taxes. But then there's all of these little fees and charges and licenses that you have to have, and that's one of them. Now the dog, it's been a while since Alfie's had her has had her booster and all that stuff, but I think that it used to be like $5, and now I'm drawing a blank. Now that you brought it up, I think it's more like $50 now to register. I could be wrong about that. It's a lot more though to register your dog.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those things, I think the price varies by municipality to municipality. So depending on where you live, they kind of get to set whatever price they want. But I find it I don't find it surprising because of everything I know about New York State. But it's just like every time you turn around, something that maybe you didn't anticipate pops up, and once you hear about it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. New York State would try to take that money out of my pocket too. But up until that point, you're like, really? My dog needs to be registered like it's a vehicle or something. And a dog is a living being, which for many people is they see as a member of their family. Some people see it that way, some people don't. Um, and it's kind of like one of those things for those people who see a pet dog as a member of their family. It's almost like New York State is charging them like a child tax or something like that you have to
don't say it out loud. Don't give them any ideas.
Yeah. That's probably the only thing left that they haven't taxed. I'm trying to think. I mean, I did post maybe 6 months ago asking people what you could do that isn't taxed in New York. And most of the responses that I got back were inappropriate, and I can't mention them on the radio. But that's about it. That's really about it. Yeah. So just figured I'd share that with you guys because I had no idea. I never thought to look into the New York agriculture and markets law to see what my requirements are for my pet. And I definitely had no idea that this was like a statewide thing and that they could just seize my pet if not registered.
Basically, you got to be vaccinated. That's the deal. You got to have the rabies vaccine. I can't remember if the other vaccines are required now or not. I just know that when she goes to the vets that she gets that. The rabies is a booster situation every 3 years. Some of the other ones are annual. There's that LPDH or DHLP, diphtheria, leptospirosis, distemper, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's a multi-shot, and that one I think is every 3 years too.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because if New York State were to follow this model, which I'm sure they will, New York State, I don't know. Bob, it would be interesting for us to look at the history of taxation in New York State and see if there's ever been a tax truly eliminated in the state. And when I say truly eliminated, I don't mean they go, oh yeah, we're going to stop taxing this, and then they just kind of like make a new fee somewhere else. I mean, like, truly they go, yeah, this was a bad idea. We're not going to do it. We're going to forego this revenue and just never collect it anywhere else either, and eliminate this tax or eliminate this fee. It would be really interesting to see if that's ever happened, how often it's happened, like who was responsible for it. My assumption is it would be only local stuff, like in your local municipality, if it exists at all. But that would be pretty interesting.
I'm thinking about school taxes probably levied on a non-existent district, because I know there have been districts which have over the years have disappeared. So that, would probably qualify.
Possibility, yeah. But my guess is that the state is still taxing it somehow anyways, to put it in the state's bucket for, their redistribution of the wealth. But yeah, that's a possibility. If a school district goes away, maybe the school tax goes away. I'm trying to think if there's really anything else that I could think of, because here's the reason I bring it up, is because every single year they quote unquote cut taxes, they reduce taxes, they give a tax credit, but their budget is always up a couple extra million, depending, or if in terms of the state, couple extra billion. So somehow they figured out how to cut taxes but collect more revenue and increase their budgets every year.
Well, what the most glaring example of this are the school budgets, because as we all know, school populations in upstate New York are shrinking, and they've shrunk by a considerable margin. If you take it back 15, 20 years, most of these districts are down 30-40%. No kidding. Yeah. And some way more than that. Yet the school taxes keep going up and up and up and up. And the cost per pupil is out of control. And you go into some of these schools, I mean, these facilities are, quite frankly, ridiculous. I mean, they're lavish to a degree it really bears no direct correlation to the quality of education that the kids are getting. They're just getting these Taj Mahal schools with, hydroponic, gardens on the roof, and gold-plated IT facilities and pools and athletic facilities. I mean, I think it's great that kids have the best, but I mean, at some point you have to draw a line. And you have to say, we have to stop the spending.
Yeah, I remember having to make a decision on a spending thing for new walls, new floors, new furniture for a facility. And my question was, are there holes in the floors? Like, what's wrong with the walls? And is the furniture that badly damaged? Like, how long ago was it put in place? And I was basically told, no, this is why would you question this? This is what we do every so many years. It doesn't matter the condition of the furniture or the walls. It needs to be replaced. And I'm like, what do you mean it needs to be replaced? That's not how it works. I would rather see students get an amazing education and actual life skills than give a brand new desk. The desk is not important. The quality of the education is. So yeah, there you go. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.